Hi everyone, P Don's here, and I am happy to be able to bring you all a playoff game from UGA Season 3's Alola Division. This week, I am playing my top 8 set versus Cam of the Manitoba Machampions. I finished 7-1 in the regular season, good enough for the 2nd seed, and Cam finished 4-4 and clinched the 7th seed. Now, as it turns out, this was a Week 1 matchup that I was able to win, and I would love to say that we don't have a video for this one. It's the only week I don't have a video for. That I don't have a video for this one because I knew this was coming, and I wanted to basically hold scouting information stuff, but nah, that didn't happen. Essentially, Week 1, I forgot to hit record. But yeah, by playing Cam in the top 8, now I'm able to get a video out of this matchup, and it's come full circle. So, what is the matchup? Well, we've got the 11 I've been using. Cam made a few moves during midseason. I think it was Dracovish out for Salamence, and then some combination of Pheromosa and Fletchling went out for the Acelgor Palisand combo. So we've got a team that has Venucol, that has Acelgor Palisand, has a strong max option in Salamence, double Intimidate, Trick Room, and some prankster stuff. So this looks like on paper it's going to be a challenge. And here's some of the reasons why. Anyone who's played VGC on Sword and Shield, since Venusaur and Torkoal were finally released together, know how strong Venucol is. It is one of the defining archetypes of Gen 8 VGC. Even with everything I have that can help me against Venucol, Dragapult, Virizion, Tapu Koko to block the sleep, Politoed to change the weather, Weavile to hit Venusaur around Sash to triple axle, even Coughing to shut off abilities. Even with all that, I still have to be very careful of this combo. It is that strong, and if I am not careful, it could trip me up and send me to an early exit from the playoffs. So anything I build this week has to address that first and foremost. Also, all 3 midseason pickups I think are excellent for Cam. The Acelgor Palisand combo is obvious, plus it makes me have to go special in most cases to be able to hit through that. But Salamence, well, it's got Intimidate, or it could steamroll things with Moxie. Like, you get a KO, that thing goes, like, crazy. And it's a strong max option that I feel like can slow my team down, specifically my physical attackers. Salamence also has a nice little partner on this team called Scrafty. And Scrafty also has Intimidate. So you got the Acelgor Palisand combo. You've got double Intimidate. I probably have to make a game plan that focuses more on special attacking. When you consider all that, and Venusaur itself, Diggersby cannot come this week. Diggersby just won basically the MVP of the Alola Division this week. 23 KOs, 3 deaths. It's not coming. Double Intimidate, Sandcastle combo, Venusaur. I mean, even Scrafty hits it hard. It will be very tough for me to maneuver Diggersby this week, so I kind of have to leave it out. And you know what? There are other issues that I have to deal with as well. Marshana and Aegislash. Aegislash may not be the best max option because you can't go back into shield form until the max is over. But it still hits hard. It's still a slow Trick Room attacker. And Marshana is so bulky that if I don't take special care to deal with it, it will probably get Trick Room up and be able to set things up for mons like Torkoal, Scrafty, Aegislash, even Palossand. So, I don't know if that is what Cam is going to use to approach me, but I do have to respect it. However, based on the Week 1 set we had, where Dragapult played a key role in helping me get that win, I suspect that Cam will attempt to plan for Dragapult as best as possible. So, with that, I want to make a game plan where Dragapult maybe is not the central focus, but it can still do things. And based on all this, plus the Week 1 match, I'm predicting Venusaur, Torkoal, Salamence, Scrafty, Acelgor, and Palossand. Would it surprise me if Aegislash and Marshana came? Not at all. I think Cam has a lot of options that could do well into me. But I also think these two combos, Acelgor, Palossand, Venusaur, Torkoal, are extremely powerful. And I think having double Intimidate against me is a reasonable call to make in team preview, or week preview I should say. So I think that's something I need to address in my team building. So here's what I'm going to do to try to do that. I'm bringing Kian the Dragapult, Izzy the Virizion, Jean-Marc the Weavile, Temple the Tapu Koko, Greenios the Politoed, and Tamtam the Gothitelle. My ultimate goal is to stop Venusaur while being respectful of all major strategies that Cam can use against me. Venusaur, as I mentioned, is one of the defining combos of Sword and Shield VGC, and if I am not respecting it, I'm going to have a problem. Bottom line. Now, Dragapult, it kinda has the same moveset as Week 1, but I had to go mixed this time because of Palossand. Phantom Force became Shadow Ball, Dragon Darts became Draco Meteor, and Fly and Beat Up are the same. I also have Lumberry on it because Venusaur can get fast and throw Sleep Powder onto Dragapult. If that happens, I don't get the ability to attack or set up my beat up combo. Having Lumberry allows me to probably safely lead Dragapult and Virizion into this team. There are definitely things Cam can do to stop that, and being able to scout that information might be key, but I think Lumberry probably covers most of the negative issues that I would have leading this combo. And I think it's important because if I play Virizion really well, I believe it has the potential to sweep this team. Two of the biggest problems for Virizion would be Max Salamence and Marshana. Marshana is probably bulky enough to set up Trick Room, especially if Cam chooses more of the Trick Room way to play this week. And Max Salamence can potentially snowball through my team. Now, if I do beat up the Virizion, even if both Salamence and Scrafty intimidate Virizion, as it turns out, a +2 Life Orb Max Rockfall one-shots most Max Salamences, and a +2 Life Orb Max Flutterby also tends to one-shot most Mershana. So, I believe, even with the double Intimidate, this Virizion could be strong enough to take out the biggest problems that my team would have in executing that strategy. And if that is the case, Virizion looks very favorable this week. But I will have to see what Cam brings and adjust as necessary. Now, this Weavile, it's max speed. Scarf Weavile needs to be max speed to outspeed Venusaur in the sun by 1. Now, this then allows me to go for a triple Axle if I want. If I'm worried about Torkoal on the field or Venusaur with Weather Ball, I could actually use Rain Dance, slow everything down, and weaken the Torkoal. Especially if it's Virizion on the field as well. I'm cutting the fire attacks in half. I'm turning Weather Ball into a water type attack. Virizion should be able to do some damage in that situation. Also, if I find out that there's something very tricky that's stopping Dragapult from beating up, there's a good chance that Weavile will be able to pick up the slack. And yeah, it's pickpocket just so I don't give away that I'm Scarf. Like, pressure would be optimal technically, but I want to conserve as much information as I can. Now, we got the Perish Trap combo at the bottom of Politoed and Gothitelle. Obviously, changing the weather from sun to rain could be very important this week. Also, Cam does have some bulky mons that are going to be able to do some damage, but could also just sit there and try to outbulk me. If that happens, I can potentially set up a Perish Song. Whether it be if I knock out 2 mons and then do it, or pair it with the Gothitelle and trap them in. So, yeah, but I feel like both of these mons could be crucial this week. And Tapu Koko, it blocks sleep from Venusaur's Sleep Powder, and it could hit Salamence and Scrafty hard with Dazzling Gleam, and it could hit a non-max Palisand hard with 120 base power Grass Knot, or if I need to max the Tapu Koko, 130 power max Overgrowth. Like, Koko, I think, is going to be big to make sure that Venusaur cannot spam sleep on me to try to win the game that way. I think I have what I need to make myself competitive, but Cam does have options, so I think this is going to be a tricky one. The set's going to be post-commentated once again. No, obviously I'm not commentating live. It's I want to be able to think about the games, but you can always watch a replay of it live, like on my Twitch, and yeah, I will also put the link to the Twitch battle below once it goes live. So with that, let's go into the set versus Cam and the Manitoba Machampions. Alright, so we've connected with Cam, and we are about to jump into the set. Now, fortunately, I'm pretty happy with the music choice, and gonna lock in my team for this week. I'm making sure I can think of all the potential combos that Cam might bring against me, and what my game plan for each of them will be. And after I feel good about it, we go into the battle. And the first thing I notice is no Torkoal. There is no worry of Venucoal this week. So with that, my attention turns to the Alola Palossand combo, which it's different than Venucoal, of course, but it's also a pretty big threat. Like, +2 Palossand with +6 defense can hit a lot of things and not die. So what I am thinking right now is, am I going to be able to do enough damage to a +6 defense Palossand with a beat up Virizion? And ultimately, I do conclude that, yes, I can do enough damage, and especially with Torkoal not here, this makes Virizion easier to lead. So I do decide to go with the Dragapult and Virizion combo. And I bring Tapu Koko to stop Venusaur from sleeping me, and lock in Politoed just for some perish stuff towards the end of the game if needed. And we do see the Alola Palossand lead. Now, ultimately, I do think this lead favors me, but I am concerned about Palossand potentially going with the +6 and +2. So I do dwell on it a little bit, but I think I just have to go for the beat up and max with the Virizion and start doing as much damage as I can. And I want to get damage on the max Palossand, so I go into it figuring its weakness policy is going to proc anyway. But the Palossand does withdraw for the Heliolisk, which makes me believe that Cam was predicting a Dragapult max and a max Phantasm into that slot. Which is actually a decent call. It's just that my strategy is more focused on Virizion than Dragapult this week. We do see the Yawn, which is a very good move for a Alola to use, and a very good target onto my Virizion by Cam. Obviously, this animation takes forever, once again. And there's 4. Now, this Overgrowth is either going to reveal a Focus Sash or knock out this Heliolisk. Helios gets the sash, so it goes down. I've got grassy terrain on the field, so I will be able to recover a bit of my health from the life orb and the beat up. But my Verzian is drowsy. Palisand comes back in. Still figure Cam is trying to set the combo up. And it's a no-brainer at this point. I have to switch in Tapu Koko to stop Verzian from falling asleep. And as much as I want to max Overgrowth of Palisand, I will overwrite the electric terrain and fall asleep. So I feel like I have to max Airstream this turn. Maybe get faster than the Selgor. Or KO it. So I do that to keep the electric terrain so the Verzian doesn't fall asleep, and to keep dishing out as much damage as possible. And the Palisand is going to max here. The Selgor protects, and the Palisand max guards. That's actually a good play to try to make sure my Verzian goes to sleep. The only issue with the play is that I had Tapu Koko on the back. So it was a good play with the information that Cam had. Fortunately, I did have a counter. Also, because I'm a +4 Verzian, I was able to drop the Selgor down to Focus Sash with the max Airstream. I am probably not faster than the Selgor though, because of Unburden. It lost its Focus Sash and gained 2 stages of speed. So Selgor is still going to be faster. At this point, I'm just trying to figure out what to do. I protect Tapu Koko and single target the Palisand because I figure it's going to go for the Water Shuriken into the Palisand, and the Selgor is kind of not the biggest threat at the moment, so I want to leave it on the field. You do see the Acid Spray, which could be a little annoying. I mean, it's great for the Palisand with the special attacks, but because the Water Shuriken did not go into the Palisand, I'm able to hit it with a +4 max Overgrowth. And as you can see, it went down in 1 hit, which is very good for me. And Cam's last mana Salamence. We are able to confirm that it's an Intimidate variant, so I don't need to worry about Moxie going like crazy. But I do need to be a little careful with my physical attackers because my opponent probably has double Intimidate. I go for the Dazzling Gleam to take out the Selgor and to do a good chunk to Salamence. I'm considering which attack to use here because I have a feeling the game is probably close to 1, and I don't want to reveal that my Verzian has Stone Edge just yet. Alright, so the Acid Spray comes out, and it actually does crit the Koko. Could have been a little dicey if it went down, but fortunately I'm able to get the Dazzling Gleam off, do a lot of damage to the Mence, and take out the Selgor. and I'm able to bounce to avoid the incoming attack from the Salamence. And at this point, a Dazzling Gleam will finish off the Mence, but I'm also spending a little bit of time thinking about that damage calc, and during the animations, I am calcing the Coco's damage versus the Mence, and I conclude that it's probably Assault Vest, which is decent information to have going into Game 2. Now, given how I played the Virizion, I figure that Cam is probably going to bring an adjustment to slow down the beat-up mode. And I'm thinking it's probably Heliolisk, since Heliolisk is naturally faster than Virizion, and it also gets Glare, which is a guaranteed paralysis move. And getting Virizion paralyzed probably isn't the best thing. So it's something I do need to consider going into Game 2. I do spend a little bit of time contemplating it. Like, for example, is Weavile good here to hit Heliolisk 3 times and knock it out? Is Scrafty gonna come to cause Weavile a problem? Can I get through this with Tapu Koko even? It can't be paralyzed because it's an electric type. And I do need to worry about Venusaur, I do need to worry about Palossand, but I can do a decent amount of damage to a bunch of these mons. But what I ultimately decide is to go with the Dragapult Virizion combo again and see Cam's adjustment. Maybe I can beat up again, and if not, I can have a switch. So I do lock in the Virizion. I do lock in the Politoed for Perish stuff, potentially. And Koko, of course, because it's paralysis immune, plus, Dazzling Gleam, hitting a bunch of the mons effectively. And I do see the adjustment, and it's Scrafty and Heliolisk. What this tells me is Dragapult is probably getting hit with an attack, and Heliolisk is probably paralyzing Virizion. Or Scrafty could be going for a Poison Jab into the Virizion to do more damage. I'm contemplating too if the Glare goes into the Dragapult, because if it does, I have Lumberry and I get the beat up combo off very easily. I ultimately decide that it's not worth the risk to get Virizion paralyzed, so I fall back on maxing Dragapult and going into Tapu Koko to absorb a possible Glare. Now, by committing to this max, I'm aware I'm not going to have as much offensive potential as I did last game, but I think I can position myself to get enough speed to where if a late game Salamence Max comes in, I'm still faster than it and can react appropriately. Yeah, we do get the airstream into the Scrafty. It does less than half, so I was a little surprised, but there's not that much attack investment in this Dragapult this week. Now, Cam goes for the Electrify, and with the Electrify, Helios is fast, but I have 2 Mons that are faster than it, so Electrify is going to fail to them. So yeah, I do lock in the Dazzling Gleam, take out the Scrafty, and get some damage on the Helios. And I'm also surprised at the Quick Claw, which is a nifty tech, not gonna lie. Helios is able to get out of there, but what's ever coming in is going to take a max Wormwind. And it's Venusaur. Gleam comes out, easily takes out the Scrafty, and does okay damage to Venusaur for a resisted spread. Wormwind comes out, and it chunks Venusaur down to about 20%. A little more. Helios comes back in. I'm a little weary of Quick Claw on it, so it does become a priority target for me. However, the game situation more so says that I should probably at least airstream the Venusaur, because if I do get glared, and glare twice, I will still be faster than most of the Mons on the opposing team. Because I'll have 2 speed boost, and it will wipe out the paralysis speed drop. And the glare is revealed, but fortunately I have Lumberry. The Lumberry was Venusaur Sleep Powder, but I did also have glare from Helios combined when giving it the Dragon Balls. And I'm able to get okay damage onto the Helios. And Venusaur shows Cobra Berry, which is also a nice tech. Especially if you run a bulky Venusaur. You can potentially make attacks like that a 3-shot instead of a 2-shot. Alright, so my max is over. Cam still has 3 Pokemon. But I feel like I've positioned myself kind of well. I'm assuming the back Mon is Salamence, and if that's the case, I think I have the tools to win this. I just need to play properly. So I go for the Shadow Ball into the Venusaur slot, and the Dazzling Gleam to do more damage to Helios. I feel like the Dazzling Gleam is not going to KO the Venusaur, so I want to make sure I get it with Shadow Ball, and if it does KO, then Helios doesn't take anything from Shadow Ball. Big deal. But it doesn't kill, so Dragapult is able to follow up with a Shadow Ball into the Venusaur slot, and is able to knock it out. And the second glare comes out, and paralyzes Dragapult for good this time. Fortunately, because I have 2 max airstreams, I am still faster than both the Helios and the Salamence that just got revealed. I'm figuring out my endgame situation, but I think my play is clear enough that I just go for the Dazzling Gleam, then hope I don't get fully paralyzed, and I'm able to hit the Draco Meteor. If I do that, I should be able to win this game. Dazzling Gleam goes off, does a decent amount to the Salamence, drops Helios to the red. I do move, and I do connect the Draco Meteor, and as it turns out, I do knock out the Salamence. And Electrify is unable to work, perhaps banking on a Quick Claw activation there. So I just need to Dazzling Gleam with Tapu Koko, and I'm going to win this game and the set, and move on to the Alola Division semifinals. Good games to Cam. So we are back, and fortunately I was able to win this playoff set 2-0. So I'm able to advance to top 4 of the Alola Division playoffs for this season. Now, this set was likely won in the 11v11 week prep. Like, the game does not start really when you connect to your opponent and lock in and get to team preview and you have a minute 30. The game really starts with something like this when you get your pairing and you're analyzing the 11 versus 11. Games can be won and lost there as easily as being won or lost in game with the 6. And both teams had many things that could go into each other and be effective. As I was prepping, I felt like the stuff I could bring, while it had some problems versus some things, I still had outs versus the problematic things. But there were other combos that the people helping me prep would bring, and if the Manitoba Machampions got the wrong combo, I would be at a pretty big advantage. I think that's just what happened here. Like, the combination I brought was better equipped to deal with the combination of mons that Cam brought. I could definitely see what Cam was going for. Like, you have the Celgor Palisand combo that works really well, potentially into a physical Dragapult, which I used well week 1. Like, double Intimidate. I mean, Diggersby is my kill leader. Really hates double Intimidate. Like, there were definitely pieces there, and there were definitely game plans where that would have caused me a lot of problems. Fortunately for me, I was able to find the game plan that was able to get around what Cam brought. And the match that happened, it sometimes happens in Draft League. It's not a plus for me. It's not a minus for Cam. It's just a fact of Draft League. And at this point, especially in the playoffs, You just take it and move on. So, but as for the match itself, beat up into Virizion, provided the offensive pressure needed to handle what Cam was throwing at me. It was even a way for me to get around possible double intimidates, which did happen game 2. Now, Dragapult, it wasn't supposed to be the centerpiece of my strategy this week, but it did everything I needed it to. It was able to power up Virizion, and when the situation wasn't as favorable for Virizion in game 2, it was able to fall back and to be a secondary max. And it even was able to absorb a glare once before actually getting fully paralyzed because of Lumberry, meaning I was able to get an extra turn to exploit my max and set myself up for the late game. And Tapu Koko kept the game moving by stopping Virizion from going to sleep game 1, and Spread Dazzling Gleam was able to do the damage I needed to do to the opposing mons. So those 3 worked well together in tandem this week. Now, this was a top 8 set. What about the rest of the matches? Well, here you go. As you just saw, I won 2-0. It was actually a pretty big upset with the seeding. The East Coast Umbreon, the 8-0 first seed, lost to the 8th seed Lake Erie Wishy-Washies. We had talked in the playoff video, probably preview video, that this matchup may not be the best for ECU. And Mamoswine was probably going to cause a team with Landorus, Duraludon, and Entei possible problems. Plus, you have Tapu Fini as well, which from the Lake Erie Wishy-Washies, which was able to pair up with some of the Lake Erie Wishy-Washies mons, and was able to give Mystic a hard time. And it looks like that the Lake Erie Wishy-Washies were able to pull that one out, and it's a pretty big upset that will shake the rest of the Alola Division playoffs. The 3rd seeded Maryland Magnemites were able to handle the 6th seeded Fenrir Frosties. The Magnemites feature Sancor with the Tyranitar and Excadrill, plus Primarina on the team. That was able to get the better of a team like Togetic, Stakataka, Tapu Bulu, Glastrier. I think Gengar's on there as well. So yeah, the Magnemites are able to advance. And in a battle of the other 2 content creators in the Alola Division that are in the playoffs, the 2-time defending champion Washington Pokemon team was able to defeat the Sacramento Sandslash 2-0. Both of them are going to have their perspectives posted at some point, so I do hope you'll watch both of them. It's probably going to be a good match, though as of this recording, I have not seen it yet. We also took care of some housekeeping for the end of the Alola Division regular season, and I'm just going to recap it right now. I alluded to this earlier, but my Diggersby won Most Valuable Mon. I mean, it killed so many things this regular season that, hey, I'll take it. I definitely want to win the Alola Division, and compared to that, I don't care that much about these awards, but if they're going to give you something, yeah, of course you take it. And yeah, so Diggersby, as you guys have probably seen if you were watching these videos, was pretty effective for me. And the runner-up being Pat Max Celesteela with 22 KOs and 7 deaths. Now, because Diggersby is a C tier, it also took most surprising Mon. Like, you would expect something like Celesteela or like Entei or Primarina, stuff like that, to run up the kill count. But you probably wouldn't expect it too much from a C tier, so I guess that's part of the reason why Diggersby also took home most surprising Mon. The runner-up was WPT's Crustle, which only appeared 3 times, but took 8 KOs for 1 death as a D tier, which is decent production. Matchup of the season, I think the matchup of the season is going to be whatever the finals is. But for the regular season, my matchup against JP Lacey and the Washington Pokemon team was voted the matchup of the season, which both of our perspectives are available on our respective channels. However, because only matches involving me were nominated for some reason, I do also want to point out another good one, which was the Washington Pokemon team versus the Detroit Rainbow Wings in Week 6. This was essentially the Detroit Rainbow Wings using Scrappy Kangaskhan to stop Frostlass from setting up the Frost Breath into the Tauros. So, yeah, only one Mon in Sword and Shield has Scrappy Fake Out, which is Kangaskhan. Detroit Rainbow Wings had it, and they were able to use that to shut down an important strategy for the Washington Pokemon team. There was also a bit of hacks in this set, so it was kind of back and forth. I recommend you go to JP Lacey's channel and watch that video. Now, the most improved was a tie between my opponent just now, the Manitoba Machampions, and the Northern Nidoking. I covered why Salamence, Cellular Palisand were good, but the Northern Nidoking were able to overcome a pretty big rock weakness in their team to beat the Washington Pokemon team in Week 8. And if you have a big rock weakness and there's a Mon like Crustle on the other side, it can be tough to maneuver. So being able to pull that win off, it's a pretty good show. Now, the hacks of the season was the San Diego Palkia. Sorry, Brian, but that match was miserable for you. Consistent 3-turn sleeps. Final Frosties also avoided hacks in that match. Most creative team builder went to 2 of my opponents. Los Angeles Linoons and the Jersey Venusaur. If you guys remember, Week 2, there was the Pickpocket Assault Vest Weakness Policy combo, where Hitmonlee Bullet Punched the Grimmsnarl to give it an Assault Vest and to proc the Grimmsnarl's Weakness Policy. And remember my video 2 weeks ago for Week 8, the Jersey Venusaur had, after you Scarf Orbeetle, to move the Aromatisse ahead of my Dragapult and to knock it out while Dynamax in one shot. So that was nice. And the tech of the season was also the Grimmsnarl I just explained, and the runner-up caused what the hacks of the season was: the Gengar Sigilyph Gravnosa stuff versus San Diego Palkia. Now, I am fortunate enough to be moving on to the semifinals, and as for who I'm playing, it's the Lake Erie Wishy-Washies. UGA does not have fixed brackets. If anyone follows the NFL, you know during playoffs, once all the results are in, they reseed everyone and have the highest seed play the lowest seed. Like, for example, if the seventh seed, if the 7th-seeded Bengals go on the road and upset the 2nd-seeded Ravens, the Bengals would then be matched up against the first seeded Patriots. That's kind of what we have in UGA. And because the 8th seed was able to defeat the 1 seed, I am the highest seed remaining, and I'm playing the lowest seed remaining. So this is why we have a 2 seed versus an 8 seed next week. And I gotta tell you, I'm scared of this matchup. I basically said during week 6, because this is another rematch, that it was kind of almost rock, paper, scissory, and there were a lot of things where if I don't hit this opponent hard, they're able to take the hits and probably KO me back. The mons between our 2 teams have not changed since this was a week 6 match, but I think my understanding of the matchup might have. So I'm going to take this week, come up with a game plan, and see what I can do to try to propel my way to the Alola Division Finals. I can tell you right now, it will not be easy. With the momentum coming off of beating the first seed, in combination with a few mons that I think match up well against me, I am going to have my hands full against this team. And it's gonna take a lot to make sure I am able to do what I need to do to make it to finals. So with that, I will once again thank everyone for watching. I'm glad I have another match I can bring you, and I'm going to continue to post commentary, and yeah, I'll see you guys next week when I will have my semifinals match versus the Lake Erie Wishy-Washies uploaded.